intellect and bedrocked on the premise of spirit, we will understand that we are really the chief executive officer of this company called me. Very often we hear, my brother or my sister, my wife, my husband, my child, my friend will not do for me what I don't do for myself. And there are some things in our life, and there are many things that only you can do for yourself. We may seek the blessings and touching and getting the darshan of the gurus, but even they cannot do what we have to do for ourselves. And that which we have to do for ourselves, that's our responsibility. And today, we will look at the leadership qualities that exist in every human being. And you would say, Babs, what leader am I? I am a tailor. I am a mechanic. I am a salesman. What leader am I? Really? Even if you're a bigger brother or a bigger sister, even if you're a friend to someone else, even if there is a child in the neighborhood, even if there is someone that you know that in some way, even if it's not verbal advice that you would give to that person, in some form or fashion, someone is looking at you and expecting to be guided at the least by our actions. Well, whatever action that a great man or woman, he uses man universally here, but whatever great action that a man or woman performs, other people, or common fellow in his words, will follow. But more than that, he says, whatever standards that person sets becomes the benchmark for society to aspire towards. He says, whatever a great person does, other people will follow. But more than that, whatever standards that he or she sets for himself will become the benchmark for other people to follow. We should ask the question of our own selves, not as a judgmental question towards other people, but really one that introspects, one that reflects on our purpose and our presence and our contribution to those lives that we touch. Am I confident that I am a good example? Am I confident that if my children or those who are looking up to me for guidance, if they follow me, if they mimic my words, they may not know my thoughts, but if they mimic my words and my actions, am I leaving behind a legacy that when I drop this body, that at least some positive attribute in my life will live on in the lives of my children and those whose lives that I touch? That's the question that we should ask. Is the standards, are the standards that we're setting, are they high enough? Michelangelo once said, he said it this way, he said the greater danger is not in setting your benchmark too high and missing it, but rather in setting it too low and reaching it. Think about this. The greater danger is not in setting our standards or benchmarks too high and missing them. Casey Kasem, what used to be the top 10 or top 20 many years ago, he said, now it's America's top 40. He used to say in closing his program, he said, whenever you shoot, keep your feet on the ground, but keep shooting and aiming for the stars. But there's an extension to that, because if you fall short of the stars at the least, you'll be comfortably resting in the clouds. We should always aim for very high standards for ourselves. And when we do that, we are assured that our starting point in life, our central point of perspective where others are looking on, becomes one that is exemplary for others to follow. Today, please join me as we look at some leadership qualities that not only supervisors and boss men and boss women and politicians and priests and imams and pundits, not only they are defined as leaders, but these qualities as extracted from Tulsidas' Ramayana tell us about the qualities that you should have and I should have as a human being that would dictate leadership in our life. It says that it is better to uphold your word should become a promise. You shouldn't have to say that you're promised, the words I promise. He says your mere words that you give to someone, prana jai varu vachana na jai, that your word should be your promise. So much so that the only time that we should not live up to that, our words, should be when there is no longer this life breath within this body. The only time that we are allowed to not upkeep and maintain the words that we give to other people, it is when we are no longer alive, when the prana leaves this body. So strong, he says, is that tradition. How many times, what does this chopai mean, or how does it apply to the leader within me? It means simply that I must operate on a premise of credibility and integrity. Today, or many times, not only in this country, but around the world, the lead up to elections, you hear the most beautiful manifestos, promises made by our leaders and politicians, and after they are put into power, it is as though we become the servant to the master. The real leader at the political level are really not leaders. They are there to serve. And that's the ultimate leader, the one who serves and who understands her purpose in serving. But here, when that happens, when power is given to that person and the person becomes elevated to a high position in society, the concept of leadership becomes undermined and forgetting the promises that were made before. So much so that we talk the talk very well, but we forget and we become misaligned in walking the talk. Many people talk the talk a good hand, but in living up to the expectation, being the example of that which they speak of, sometimes we fall short. And Tulsidas is saying that that credibility that we so seek should not be only in the words that we give to other people, but should be demonstrated in the action. How many times we want our children to be better and improved human beings? As a matter of fact, as a parent, I want my children to be better, to have more and to be better as a person than I am. And if it is one goal that I would set for my child as a parent, it is to give them, to guide them, to nurture them so that they can live a better life that I would have in my time. And how do I do that? By instructing, by dictating, by using the big stick, by using fear tactics. In today's world, children do not relate to that. Yes, we need to use disciplinarian strategies, but it is never the only and best way to sustain a child to be guided in the right direction. We do not have to talk and shout and speak down to our children, or anyone as a matter of fact. We need to connect with them. And in connecting with them, it is not just about talking a talk, but walking with them the talk that we have given in guidance. That's credibility. That's integrity. That's the leader coming out in you. Please join me. As Tulsidas says, it is not just about being credible. He says, as a parent, as a leader, as a friend, as a big brother, as a big sister, as a didi, as an auntie, it matters not. He says, there is something else you must know as a leader. What is that? I'm exploring new paths in the forested areas of the Dandaka. Sri Ram came across the sage Valmiki. And one of the very first questions after doing the ceremonial greeting